If you don't subscribe, I'm afraid I won't make it. I need your help. So anyway, I'm standing in the beverage aisle at Whole Foods last month and I swear it looked like a science lab exploded. Bottles everywhere promising to fix my gut, make my skin glow, strengthen my bones, you name it. A $4.99 prebiotic soda sat next to a $6.99 collagen water, and honestly, I grabbed both. Call it curiosity, call it stupidity, but I had to know what all the fuss was about. This wasn't the same drink section I grew up with where the biggest health claim was maybe some added vitamin C. Now we've got probiotics, prebiotics, collagen peptides, adaptogenic herbs, electrolyte blends. It's like someone took a supplement store and liquefied it. The functional beverage market's worth $279 billion now, and it's growing faster than anyone predicted. But here's the thing that kept bugging me as I sipped my overpriced kombucha later. Haven't we been down this road before? Remember when acai berries were gonna save us all? Or when everyone was chugging green juice like it was liquid gold? What makes this different, and more importantly, what actually works? I spent the last 6 months diving deep into this world, testing products, reading studies, talking to researchers who actually know what they're talking about. What I found was complicated. There's some real science here, but there's also a lot of expensive hope in fancy bottles. The timing of this boom makes perfect sense when you think about it. We've all been through a pandemic that made us obsess over our immune systems. Instagram wellness culture normalized the idea that your daily smoothie is basically a personality statement, and millennials and Gen Z treat food like medicine, which isn't wrong, but it's created this market where people will pay $6 for flavored water if it promises to optimize their gut bacteria. Joe Rogan's been talking about this stuff for years on his podcast, Probiotics, Bone Broth, all of it. Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop empire basically built itself on functional everything. When you've got the most popular podcast host in America and Hollywood's wellness queen pushing these products, you know it's hit mainstream. Before I dive deeper into what I discovered, if you're finding this exploration helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me continue testing these wellness trends so you don't have to spend your own money figuring out what actually works. Dr. Sarah Chen, a food scientist at Cornell, told me something that stuck. We're seeing people shift from treating symptoms to preventing them. They want their daily choices to actively contribute to their health. That mindset created the perfect storm for drinks that promise to do way more than just hydrate you. Let me break down what I learned about each category, because the devil's really in the details here. Probiotics have the strongest research backing, but even that's messier than the marketing suggests. Your gut's got about 100 trillion microorganisms living in it. That's more bacterial cells than human cells in your body. The research on how these bacteria affect everything from digestion to mood to immune function is genuinely fascinating. The best evidence shows certain probiotic strains can help with digestive issues, especially IBS symptoms and lactose intolerance. There's even some wild research about the gut-brain connection suggesting specific probiotics might help with anxiety and depression. But here's where it gets tricky. Most probiotic drinks contain 10 billion CFUs. While the studies showing real benefits typically use 100 billion CFUs, you're often getting a fraction of what was actually tested. Plus, many commercial probiotic drinks are pasteurized or loaded with sugar, which doesn't exactly create an environment where good bacteria thrive. Dr. Michael Ruscio, who's done extensive research on this, put it bluntly, the strains matter, the doses matter, and most commercial products haven't been specifically studied for the health claims they're making. I tried drinking GT's kombucha daily for a month. Did I feel different? Maybe. My digestion seemed more regular, but I also changed other habits during that time. That's the problem with self-experimentation. You can't isolate variables like you can in a lab. Prebiotics are supposed to feed the good bacteria already in your gut, which sounds smarter than trying to introduce new ones. The research is promising, but still developing. Most studies use 10 grams daily, but a lot of prebiotic sodas only have 3 grams per bottle. Dr. Erica Sonnenberg at Stanford told me the most effective approach is still eating diverse, fiber-rich foods rather than relying on isolated compounds in drinks. I tested Poppy and Olipop, the two biggest prebiotic soda brands. The first week was rough bloating, gas, the works. Apparently that's normal when you first introduce prebiotics. By week 3 I felt pretty good, but was it the prebiotics or just cutting out regular soda? Hard to say. The collagen craze is where things get really interesting. Our bodies naturally produce less collagen as we age, which is why our skin gets wrinkled and our joints get creaky. The idea that we can drink our way back to youthful collagen levels is incredibly appealing, especially when celebrities like Jennifer Aniston are pushing collagen supplements. But here's the catch. When you drink collagen, your body breaks it down into amino acids, just like any other protein. There's no guarantee those amino acids will be used to make new collagen in your skin versus muscle protein in your biceps. Some studies suggest collagen supplementation might help with skin elasticity and joint health, but they typically use 10-15 grams daily, while most collagen drinks have 2-5 grams. I spent a small fortune on Vital Protein's collagen waters for 2 months. My skin looked the same. My joints felt the same.
Dr. Whitney Bowe, a dermatologist who's written about this, basically confirmed what I experienced. The effects are modest at best, and you're probably better off eating a balanced diet rich in vitamin C and protecting your skin from sun damage.
The electrolyte drink explosion makes more sense when you understand that most people are chronically dehydrated, especially if they're drinking coffee all day and maybe hitting the gym. Liquid IV became huge partly because it actually works. The sodium to potassium ratio helps your body absorb water more efficiently than plain water. But here's what most people don't realize. Unless you're sweating buckets or hungover, you probably don't need specialized electrolyte drinks.
Dr. James DiNicolantonio, who researches cardiovascular health, told me most people get adequate electrolytes from food if they're eating a balanced diet.
The optimal sodium to potassium ratio is about 3:1, but a lot of these drinks are basically expensive salt water with artificial flavors. I used LMNT packets during workouts and honestly felt more energized, but I was also drinking way more water than usual. Correlation versus causation, you know? Bone broth got trendy partly because it connects to ancestral eating patterns. The idea that our grandparents knew something we forgot. There's something appealing about that in our processed food world. The claimed benefits include better joint health, improved skin, enhanced gut healing, and quality protein. Traditional bone broth, simmered for 24-48 hours, does extract collagen, amino acids, and minerals from bones. But most commercial bone broth drinks are made from powder or concentrate, which is a completely different product. Dr. Kyla Daniel, who literally wrote the book on bone broth, told me bluntly,
consumers are paying premium prices for what might be glorified chicken stock.
I tested bona fide provisions and kettle and fire bone broths. They tasted fine, but the protein content was way lower than I expected. 10 grams versus 15, 20 grams in homemade versions. For the price, I could buy actual bones and make my own. Here's where it gets really interesting though. The placebo effect is incredibly powerful with these products. When you spend $5 on a drink promising better gut health, you're primed to notice positive changes. Dr. Aaliyah Crum at Stanford studies this phenomenon. She's found that belief itself can create real physiological changes. So, if someone feels better after drinking kombucha for a week, is it the probiotics or the ritual of self-care? Probably both. This creates a weird situation where the products aren't exactly fake, but they're not as revolutionary as they claim either. The functional beverage industry has gotten incredibly sophisticated at taking preliminary research and turning it into compelling marketing. A study showing that one specific probiotic strain helped people with IBS becomes marketing for a drink targeting anyone wanting digestive wellness. Dr. Marion Nestle, who's been studying nutrition marketing for decades, calls this
the art of using scientific language to make products seem more credible than they are.
Terms like clinically studied ingredients or research-backed formula often mean very little in practical terms. Let me do some math for you. Someone drinking one functional beverage daily, alternating between a $4 prebiotic soda and a $6 collagen drink, would spend about $1,800 per year. For that same money, you could buy a year's supply of quality probiotic supplements, $300. Collagen powder, $200. A high-end juicer with organic produce, $500. A gym membership, $600. And still have $200 left for massage therapy or cooking classes. I'm not saying functional beverages have zero value, but the cost per benefit ratio is worth considering.
Dr. David Katz at Yale put it perfectly. We're seeing people spend hundreds monthly on functional beverages while skipping basic health practices like eating vegetables, exercising regularly, and getting adequate sleep. It's like polishing chrome on a car with a broken engine.
After reviewing hundreds of studies and testing dozens of products, here's what I found. The evidence is strongest for traditional fermented foods like kefir and kombucha for digestive health, electrolyte replacement during intense exercise, and certain probiotic strains for specific conditions. The evidence is emerging for collagen supplementation and prebiotic fibers. The evidence is weakest for proprietary blends and products making multiple health claims simultaneously.
Dr. Christopher Gardner at Stanford summed up the current state perfectly. We have compelling preliminary evidence for some ingredients, but we're still in early stages of understanding optimal doses, timing, and individual variation. The science is progressing, but it's not keeping pace with the marketing.
This whole thing feels familiar because we've been here before. Remember the vitamin water craze in the 2000s? The superfood movement with exotic berries and powders? The detox tea phenomenon? Each trend followed the same pattern: promising early research, aggressive marketing, celebrity endorsements, rapid growth, then eventual skepticism as limitations became apparent. What's different this time is the cultural context. We're more aware of gut health importance, more skeptical of processed foods, and more willing to pay premium prices for perceived health benefits. These factors might give functional beverages more staying power than previous fads.
Brian Wansink, who studies food behavior, told me health fads typically cycle through phases. Early adoption by health enthusiasts, mainstream adoption through marketing, scientific scrutiny, then either normalization or abandonment.
Functional beverages are currently in the mainstream adoption phase. After months of personal experimentation, here's my honest assessment. The $5 kombucha does seem to help with digestive regularity, though homemade would be cheaper and probably better. The prebiotic sodas caused bloating initially, but seemed to improve my overall digestive comfort after a few weeks. The collagen drinks had zero discernible effects on my skin or joints. The electrolyte drinks helped during workouts but seemed unnecessary otherwise. The most truthful thing I can say is that some functional beverages provide modest benefits for some people, but they're not the game changers marketing suggests. The benefits I experienced could likely be achieved through whole foods, basic supplements, and lifestyle changes at a fraction of the cost. What strikes me most about this trend is what it reveals about our relationship with health and convenience. We want to drink our way to better health, to optimize complex biological processes through consumer choices. This isn't entirely wrong. What we consume does affect our health, but it's incomplete. The research consistently shows that health fundamentals, adequate sleep, regular exercise, stress management, and a varied diet rich in whole foods have far greater impact than any functional beverage. Dr. David Ludwig at Harvard offers this perspective.
Functional beverages represent both our best instincts, the desire to actively support our health, and our worst tendencies, the belief that complex problems have simple solutions.
So where does this leave us? The functional beverage trend represents a fascinating intersection of legitimate science, consumer demand, and marketing innovation. Some ingredients have research support, some products provide modest benefits, and some claims are definitely overblown. The gut health benefits of certain probiotics are real, but they're not unique to expensive beverages. The hydration benefits of electrolyte drinks are legitimate, but mainly relevant during intense exercise. The collagen benefits are possible but subtle and may not justify premium pricing. What we're witnessing is the commercialization of legitimate health concepts. The science of gut health, hydration, and nutrition is advancing rapidly, but translation into consumer products often loses nuance and context. We end up with products that aren't entirely fake but aren't as revolutionary as they claim. Functional beverages represent what health fads often are: a grain of truth wrapped in layers of marketing, hope, and convenience. They're not harmful for most people. They're not miraculous, and they're probably not the best use of your health budget. The real revolution isn't in bottles lining health food store shelves. It's in growing understanding that health is complex, individual, and requires sustained attention to fundamentals rather than quick fixes. Functional beverages might be part of that journey, but they're not the destination. From my own experimentation, the most valuable insight might be this: pay attention to how different foods and drinks make you feel. Be skeptical of dramatic claims, and remember that the most powerful health interventions are often the least exciting ones. Sometimes the best functional beverage is simply water consumed as part of a balanced life. The functional beverage trend will likely continue evolving, with some products proving their worth and others fading into background noise. But the underlying hunger for health optimization, convenience, and control over our well-being, that's not going anywhere. And maybe that's the most important trend of all.